Hello, Miami. This is 305 Sports Now, your home podcast for all things Miami sports related. I am Will, and for those of you watching at the visual version on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe to the bonus interview page. All right, so joining us today is a very good friend of mine and a very talented high school football coach. Basically, he's also coach of the year, the head coach of the Westland Hialeah Wildcats, Mr. Joseph Gross. Joe, how's it going?
Going pretty well, man. I appreciate you having me back on.
Oh, no, of course, man. What are friends for? One of the things I want to tell you, I want to talk to you about. First, I want to thank you. We were talking before the show, and I also want to let the public know that this is one of the hardest working men, in high school football. This guy, teaches summer school, coaches after school, all right, and then did physicals basically till now. All right, so I want to ask you a question, man. How tired are you?
It's we don't get tired till the weekend. That's when you feel it. You feel
okay. Spoken like a true football coach, man. I like that. All right, so we've had you on previously, with Coach Timothy Neal, also a good friend of mine as well, a good friend of the show. But one of the things I wanted to go over with you is for those who are new listeners to the show, you have a remarkable history on how you became a head coach and your history in coaching altogether. Can you share with the audience, how you got your start?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. So I was training to play. I was trying to get a hardship to play a fifth year eligibility. When contacted the coach, was going to come as a walk-on to a school up in Maine. And I was working out at Miami Central. I lived a couple blocks away. And the hardship got denied by the NCAA. It fell through. So the coach at the time, the head coach at the time, he had known that the hardship had fallen through. And he asked me to stay on, and help out the staff and coach. And I really hadn't previously thought much about coaching. But I decided, give it a shot. That was the spring of 2010. So fall of 2010 was my first season. Ended up, I had a 6-year run there on that staff, Miami Central. I was there in 2010 when the school won their first state championship. And then 2011, we lost in the state championship to Stephen Armwood. And then we had the 4-peat from 2012, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then I transitioned. I took an out-of-state position. I transitioned up to a school, Denhurst High School in New York. I was up there with them for a year, and then came back down to Miami, and ended up falling into the head coaching job at West. I actually got hired at Westland to run the special ed department, and then there was a vacancy, and I kind of just slid into the role.
Yeah, that's amazing. That also the fact that you took over, and that school, which was, I'm not gonna lie to you, was considered a laughingstock. Even the Herald did articles on them, that they just couldn't win a football game. I think they scored one touchdown the first game at one point of one of their seasons. I think it was a couple seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, and then didn't score another touchdown to the end of the season. To becoming going to the Independence League championship game and you becoming head coach of the year. What kind of work did you have to put into to turn that school from basically a worst to first type of program?
A lot. It's a constant grind. It's a lot of aspects of the game, a lot of facets. It's the weight room, getting stronger, getting well conditioned, speed, agility, knowledge of the game, and then fine tuning just specific positions. I try to have very little kids play both ways. I really don't like anyone to play both ways. I like one-way players because I think that you can fine tune yourself a lot more. Certain situations, certain games, you want your best 11 on the field, but I think my staff does a really good job at coaching kids up. So we really try to have the student athletes, focus kind of on one position and master it. And they need to be very knowledgeable and everything about the position, as well as, be able to perform on the field. So one of the things that we try to really pride ourselves on is, one of our young men, goes on some kind of visit, goes to see a school that they're going to be impressed by his knowledge of the game, and I always tell them to, if they're ever talking to coaches, let them know, like, listen, my verbiage might be different, but, we speak the same language. We try to really cover everything. We try to run it, like a top-notch program and take it very serious. And, so far it's been going pretty well.
Yeah. I think it's going to change, especially since you have a blue chipper on your team, and you have some really good football players that have been coming out, this after last season's success. But one of the things I've noticed about Westland football, and I'll be very frank with you, because I was doing research before I interviewed you, is there's not much footage out there on your guys. All right, not on Max Preps, not on YouTube. So that's something that I think will change, in particular. So one of the things I want to tell the viewers is that this is a school, Westland's a school under the tutelage of Coach Gross that really only lost to one team all of last season. It lost to Barbara Goldman. The Barbara Goldman beat them twice, two very tough losses, but that's really the only team that really beat, Westland football, all of that year. So it was tough on your guys, in particular, to have those two losses, especially when you probably feel you could beat that school, in particular, especially since you're basically across the street from us, not too far away, from Westland. So it must have hit your guys, like I said, pretty hard. Discuss the off season. How is it going with your guys this summer? How is practice going, and so on? And what can the audience and what can Westland, the fans of Westland Hialeah Wildcat football, expect from a Coach Gross coach team this season?
Hard hits, hard work. The boys are ready. I know it has to translate to the field, but they're excited. They want to get out there. I have a ton of respect for the Goldman program. Their head coach is a really good friend of mine. He does an incredible job over there. But we definitely have that game circled, week 4. And then we got, we go to Hollandale, we have Carroll City, we have Booker T, we have North Miami. So, we made sure our schedule's got some teams on it that, we want to come out. We don't want to duck anybody. We don't come out. We want to play, and we're going to show we can play with whoever.
Yeah, well, that's an ultimate test for you guys. I mean, to play schools like that. I remember when I was a student at Coral Park and I was doing journalism over there at Coral Park. Coral Park played the Killians, Coral Park played the Carroll Cities, Coral Park played the Miami Highs when Andre Johnson was their lead receiver. Right. So I think that's actually a good thing for your kids to not just play, pretty much not so talented football teams or teams without winning records, but face some competition from guys that could really give them a run for their money.
Right. Yeah, we have a kickoff classic, but then our week 1 is we play Hollandale, and Hollandale Coach Bush, he's a really good friend of mine for a long time. So when I was talking to him, we were kind of setting it up the game, and he was like, Coach, what you want to do, man? You want us to come there? You want to play? We come to you. I said, and then Broward, they play at their school. In Miami, we're really the only county that, like, we play at like parks. Broward, every school has a stadium, so you play at the high school. And I said, Coach, man, we're coming to you, man. Like, I need to see week 1 at night. Are my kids gonna get off the bus at your school and play? They're gonna come out and be timid, or they're gonna play ball. And I'll know right there, how our season's gonna go.
How do kids feel about when you inform them of the kind of teams we'll be playing this year?
Oh, they're all for it. They want it. Yeah, okay. They want it.
I mean, I would figure, because Booker T, Carroll City, those are classic teams, in South Florida high school football. They've won state championships. So I'm sure your kids will get up for that game, and they must be excited to play, those caliber kind of teams. It's also good because there will be scouts too. So that's something that's good for them as well.
Yeah. Booker T won at least one. I think they won 2 national championships.
Yes.
I know they won at least one. 2013, 14 season, they won a national championship.
Yeah, so definitely know that's definitely a tough school. Schools like Central, schools like Booker T, Northwestern, right. Those are schools that are known nationally, not just locally as well. All right, so go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you brought up a great point too, and that's the other thing that I think the kids are, subconsciously aware of, and we preach to them too, is like, listen, if you want a shot at playing at that next level, there's no better way than, to play the team that has those guys already committed already with those offers. And, you got to show them you can just go out there and show you can play with them, and, rise your stock and put yourself out there and let schools know that, man, I need to look at this kid. He's the real deal.
Yeah. You also never know. I mean, upsets happen all the time, and so on. And the way you coach your team, and you've coached winners, you've coached state championships yourself. I mean, I remember when I was at Coral Park, Killian was the top team in the state, and in the playoffs, Coral Park beat Killian,
Right.
As well. And then Coral Park actually owned Killian for a couple of years during that period, and you would have never thought that because Killian was Killian. So even though Booker T is Booker T and deserves respect, and
Right.
so is Carroll City. Westland is going to be is ready to play. They're going to be prepared, and they have a coach that's done it, at a high level. So I think that's again a good opportunity for your kids. And if they do get that victory and so on, which I think they will, because I'm a fan of yours. In general, I think that's good for their psyche. I think that's good for their that's basically going to be a catalyst for their season as well, because if they could beat a Booker T, they could beat a Carroll City and prove themselves that they belong with the elite. That's just gonna motivate them, I think, to get better, as football players.
Yeah, and I think we do a really good job, my staff, that the season's about to officially start, and all that they will have, the boys focusing on is the kickoff classic. And then after the kickoff classic, all we're going to focus on week one, and not think ahead, not whether the season's going good or bad. I think one of the few sports that you could really do that, is football, because basketball and baseball, sometimes you play so many games in a week that it's like it bunches together. But in football, you have a week every game. You have a whole week of preparation, so it makes it a little easier to really just slow down and focus on one team at a time. And every team on our schedule can beat us, and I feel that we could beat every team on our schedule. Is that's why we play the game. But we come into a game thinking ahead. We come into a game and we're not really prepared or ready. We could easily lose to anyone on our schedule. We really don't play any bad teams at all. Our schedule, everyone on our schedule is a good team. So, we have to make sure that we prepare physically and mentally every week.
Yeah, I mean, and I totally agree with you, and I think that's very important. And I think you will. I think that with the way you've handled your schedule, there's no way your kids could have to take a game off. So I think, like I said, I think promoting competition and playing against teams with that kind of caliber of history, again, it's good for your players. It's good for for development as well. So I think you're on the right track, Coach, in terms of bringing success to that school. In terms of motivation, and in terms of having making sure your guys are good to go. For the rest of the season. One of the things I want to go over with you as well is there's been a lot of talk of recruiting, these last couple of weeks. The University of Miami has made a killing, signing, 4-star players, and potentially a soon to be a couple 5-star players that are on their radar. The secret's out on Jamari Howard. All right. Jamari Howard, if you guys know what Jamari Howard is, he's a 3, depending on what website you look at. I don't even believe those sites anymore, but he's a 3-star on one. He's a 4-star on another. But the bottom line is the kid's 6'2". He plays corner and he can fly. All right. So that's the one thing about Jamari. You can hear in Jamari's words, on Spotify, on 305 Sports Now, on another podcast. I did interview him recently. But I want you to highlight a few of your other players that are getting offers from other schools, but we just haven't heard. We haven't heard of them because they haven't been given enough recognition by the media. So, floor is yours.
Yeah, we have we have a really good group coming in. Defensively, I'll start with the defensive line. Both my DNs right now have offers. CJ Marquise and Trevor Darling. We were on a visit, actually. Florida Memorial offered CJ on the spot. Fan offered CJ on the spot. And then Trevor was able to pick up 2 offers later in the summer. But they're both going into their sophomore season. They're both kind of model images of each other. They're both about 6'2", 230, who come back. We have a really good interior D line that we're still working on offers for them. But we have about 4 kids that rotate inside that are all really good. Our 2 linebackers, Antron Williams, he's got FAU, FIU, and Charlotte. Justin Rodriguez, he has He has St. Thomas, offered him not too long ago. They're both about 6'2", and in the 220 to 235 range. Antron probably about 225. Justin probably about 230, 232. So we have a nice defensive box. Jamar in the secondary, or some of the guys in the secondary playing really well right now. And then on the offensive side, our quarterback has about 4 offers right now. Kaiser, FAM, St. Thomas, and I believe Flomo is his 4th one. Receiver wise, Keon Adderley comes back to us. He's got Prairie View A&M, which is Division I HBCU in Texas. Nate Washington, 6'3" receiver for us. He's got St. Thomas, really interested in him. Working on some other things for him as well. Some of the schools with some interest. And then we got some guys flying a little under the radar. We have a 6'4" receiver, Anthony Colon, slot receiver Jamonte Parks, going to 10th grade at a really good freshman year for us last year. Nice returning offensive line. So we have a lot of kids already with offers. We have a lot of kids getting looked at. And, I tell the kids all the time, it's not rocket science. The better your season goes, the, easier it kind of is for those schools to want to see you. A school that's 10-0 is going to get looked at more than a school that's 0-10. It's just kind of the way the game goes.
Absolutely.
And recruiting is so big. I tell the boys all the time too, there's a certain amount of kind of, I guess a blessing and a luck in the draw they have just being from Miami, because, we are a hotbed for recruiting. So automatically, if you come out and perform, someone's going to see you. And we're big at preaching, college is so important, man. And such a small percentage of high school athletes play college ball. So biggest thing that we try to, talk to these kids about too is like, get rid of that, like, there's like this ridiculous like D1 or bust mentality. Like, I have to go D1. Like, you look at the league, man, you look at how many great players came from, D1 AA's or D2s or D3s or NAIs. I had to go to JUCO first, or, all these different routes. So, that ability to be able to play at the next level is huge. And we do a pretty good job of getting kids in school. This past class, 2022 graduating class, we had 11 of our seniors get scholarship offers to go off and play. So, we're really big on college. At the end of the day, man, the college education is, it's a beautiful thing to have. So if you get to play some football while you're doing it, it's even better.
Absolutely. I also wanted to ask you, in terms of recruiting, some guys, they may want to get scholarships. I know you say D1 or bust, but that has to be in their head, because a lot of these kids, they live in the world of social media, and unfortunately, I mean, everybody's on television these days, but the schools like Alabama, the schools like Michigan, the schools like Ohio State, they get a lot of the primetime coverage. So how do you deal with a player from your experience at Central, where you had some very talented players, and also now your experience at Westland? How do you deal with players that you might be afraid are going to go with a me first mentality versus a team first mentality, because they want to make sure that they keep their star rating, which I think sometimes is ridiculous. The star rating itself, the star rating, and they also want to make sure that they get a scholarship to a much more prestigious football, at least in football wise, prestigious university.
I think we do not just myself, my staff, as well, does a really good job at kind of getting rid of that mentality with our players. We don't really put up with that mentality. It's a team effort, and I mean, the boys can tell you, between, different types of punishment, whether it's like running gassers or whatever it may be. I mean, any little thing they'll get punished for. Discipline has to be a major part of it. And I have a huge open door policy. So like, if someone thinks they're better than the program, then I tell them, man, well, you want to go, I'll call over to the school and see if there's an opening for you. It's just sometimes, as good as a player could be, it could be detrimental to a team if they're having a negative impact on the rest of the kids. And at the end of the day, you have 33 kids, probably more really play football in the game, right? Because you got 11 on defense, 11 on offense, 11 on special teams. But then special teams, is different personnel, probably different personnel packages. So one guy can't really define a team. The group that just graduated, I had a really good group. I have another really good group this year. My guys this year who have all these offers are a lot of them are the hardest working guys on the team. I mean, these guys will destroy them for a workout, and practice will be over, and they'll go like to the park to work out some more. It's they're just like their focus is. It has me excited about the season because I think they see something special, and they're like, they're going 100 miles an hour towards it. But we really don't have any issues with that right now. The kids they push themselves, and if they hold each other accountable, which is great. And like I said, like the guys with the leaders and the guys with the offers, they're the ones who are kind of holding everyone else accountable even more, because they're seen as like, man, this is, I know we can do this. I'm gonna make sure I push everyone to get there.
That's excellent. I'm very glad that you guys have a good handle on that as well, because that is important, and a lot of these kids, they want to be on film. Social media is a big part of their brand now. And going into and now one of the newest things that's out there, is the NILs, the name, image, and likeness deals that some of these kids are getting before they even step on a college football field. Before the broadcast, I gave you my perspective, on it. No one's talking to high school football coaches what they think of NILs. They're talking to like I said, the Sabans. The Criswell's been a bit quieter about that, but Saban's been very vocal about it. Jimbo Fisher's been very vocal about it as well. USC has been accused of buying players already. Right. So one of the things I want to go over is I've always felt that the NCAA has done it to itself. They've had these very strict policies about kids making secondary income aside from their scholarships.
Right.
And some of these punishments at times have been ridiculous. Like, I think that the story's foggy, but one of the quarterbacks out of Ohio State, he got his girlfriend, to get on a plane and go see him play, and he got suspended like 6 games. Oh, wow. Yeah, I forgot who it was. And any listener, out there, feel free to correct me in the comment section or let me know who it is. I'll be glad to re-mention it on the air next broadcast. But stuff like that, they're getting suspended for stuff like that. So, our governor passed a law, about a year ago, where now college athletes could make money for the name, image, and likeness, and other states to follow suit.
Right.
Like I said, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it to the extent, because I think that, like other kids are able to, in college, even with scholarships, are able to make secondary income.
Right.
College football athletes are not, and these universities are getting $100 million television deals because of the backs of these kids.
Right.
My biggest concern is, and this is where I straddle the fence a little bit. My biggest concern is I'm not okay with a 17-year-old who has not entered their senior year of high school, or even stepped foot on a college football field, getting a $2 million endorsement from, let's say, for example, a hypothetical would be Cadillac, or getting, which originally Rashada and Jaden Rashada, the recruit out of UM, and John Ruiz over, one of the top donors at the University of Miami, they both shut that rumor down. Allegedly, he was supposed to get an NIL deal of $9 million if he would have gone to UM. Both guys shut that rumor down. But my biggest concern is that 10, 15 years from now, you're going to get a real arms race between schools like USC, Miami, Alabama, LSU, and you're going to see kids who are 17 years old making $20 million just to go to a school. Right. And I think that's very dangerous for a kid that young to have that kind of money. I mean, what do you think as a high school football coach, since you deal with these kids a lot more closely?
Yeah, I think they're, I think it's a positive that they're getting something, because, you can't work when you play, right? And so it's like, yes, high school athletes get a lot just being high school athletes, but then outside of that boundary, right? So it's kind of like, well, I want to take my girlfriend to the movies on Saturday night, but I can't have a job. I might not have money at home. I can't, it's like simple things like that might seem like, well, that's not realistic, but it kind of is. It easily could be. And then, for years and years and years, it was like, well, this guy gets paid on the table. This guy, so, if you want to cut that out, then obviously like there has to be a legal way to go about it, right? So I think it's good that there's a legal way that these kids can make money, because like you said, like colleges make so much off them. But I do think there needs to be, like rules and regulations and things in place, and maybe caps and whatnot in order, because the problem that comes then is, this idea of one, like, almost like buying kids, right? Because then it's like, it kind of tips the scale even more for colleges in a way, because if a college, if they can find ways to present all these, NIL deals to all these top recruits, it's, tipping the scale. And then, like you said, like, I still think there needs to be, a sense of limitations and justification for, how much a kid is getting, and exactly, what the stipulations are of receiving that money. And like you said, like a kid in high school who's not even in college getting, millions of dollars. It's a Pandora's box. It's one of those things, like there's a lot of positives, but there's negatives too. I'm gonna be honest, man, I'm glad I'm not one of the people who makes decisions upon it, because, it's one of those things that I still really have a lot of questions about, and I'm not even really fully sure about exactly how I feel, just because of, certain, certain, extraordinary circumstances or limitations. And then the other thing that's negative about it, I can tell you, is that, like you said, like especially in the social media time, there's such like a false sense of reality amongst people in general, right? So like kids are even more impressionable. And when you go to college, like you're still a kid, you're 18, 19 years old, you're still a kid, right? So then it's like you have kids like entering the transfer portal because they think like, well, I'm not making enough money here, so someone else will pick me up and I'll get like, $20 million. And then you have all these kids just like sitting in the transfer portal with nowhere to go. And so it's could easily, we hear about like the kids making a ton of money, but they can easily, completely ruin the kids, playing career as well, if they're following kind of the wrong path. And it's easy to say, well, as adults, well, the kid shouldn't think like that. He shouldn't follow that path, but you don't know who's in his ear. And, as a 18-year-old and this someone, whispering about all this money, man, it's hard to really be able to weed through that and see what's accurate and what's not.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, a cap maybe of $100,000, I think, is something that a little less or something like that would be more ideal. That's just my take on it. Maybe 100K. I don't know. The reason why I say that, I know it's high. I'm just
listen. You give me a coaching cap of 100K, I'll take it right now, man.
Oh, absolutely. No, but I'm just saying like something along those lines, or 60,000, whatever the case may be. The only reason I say that is like I was having a discussion, with a friend of mine, and one of the things we talked, didn't understand how the whole NCAA thing works. I'm like, well, yeah, you get, because I've heard the argument, oh, they get a scholarship, they get room and board, they can eat as much as they want. And that's fine and dandy, but some of these kids, they go home, in the off season. If you're from Ohio, if you're playing at Ohio State, and you live in Miami, some of these kids go back home and their parents are living in poverty, So I think that, an NIL deal of $50,000 could help mom pay rent for an entire year. Right. You know what I mean? So I think having that opportunity for those kids to make money and then benefit their families, right, is good for those kids. And it gives them a sense of responsibility as well when it comes to like budgeting and where to put your money, investing, which I think could build wealth for the future. But as I also said, I don't want a gluttony of cash going to 17-year-olds. I think that's also not good for the kid either. So that's what I'm saying. A cap of maybe 100K. Maybe I'm being generous. I think it should be less personally, because you're getting. I think Addison over at USC is getting paid like $2 million. And an NIL deal he got over there. And Bryce Young, who's probably going to win the Heisman Trophy this year at Alabama, got a $1 million deal to a car dealership without throwing the football yet against Miami. So those are just things that I'm not very comfortable with. But like I said, a cap of 60K or 100K would be my top dollar. I think might be the best thing for the kid and the best thing for college football, and it kind of balances things out across conferences and even smaller schools. What do you think? You agree? You disagree? Think it's too high?
Yeah. Honestly, man, like I said, I'm glad I'm not the one making decisions. I'm so kind of torn. I do think there needs to be regulations, need to be some kind of cap. I do think that they should be able to receive, revenue because they're building so much of it. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I think there should be regulations. Obviously, I'm just throwing the cap number out. That's just I have the cap in my mind, but
Right.
yeah, but there has to be some regulation, a governing body made by the NCAA or the NCAA itself, basically throwing his hands up, be like, listen, we're gonna lose this fight. We're losing the conferences because I'm sure you're aware the conferences right now are doing whatever they want. They're merging, they're merging with each other. Teams are leaving. They're making deals, with networks. So they've kind of lost control, the NCAA, of the conferences themselves. So I think that's kind of a way for the NCAA to kind of, I guess, regather itself and regain some control by at least setting parameters to how much money players can make and how deals are conducted and so on. They do have something because John Reese was called to the carpet, for allegedly violating certain rules. I don't even know what the rules are. No one in media knows what the rules are. I don't even think the NCAA knows what the rules are, but what was that?
I said sounds about right.
Yeah, but John Ruiz, being a lawyer, left a paper trail, and he was able to, show the NCAA, listen, I've done everything by the book. This is what the kids are making. This is what my company, blah, blah, blah. And he was pretty much exonerated. They left him alone after that. So, but like I said, there has to be some sort of a governing body. The NCAA has to come up with to make sure that you also don't have an excess of cash being thrown around to kids that, haven't even thrown a football yet, throughout the season. That's just me. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show. I know you are absolutely exhausted. All right. But once again, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing with those kids. Very proud of you. Your school's very proud of you. I can guarantee that. All right. As well. And your community's proud of you. Okay. All right, guys. If you like what you heard, please do not forget to download on Anchor, Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. And please, if you're watching on YouTube, do not forget to hit that like or subscribe button. Once again, for 305 Sports Now, I am Will. And my guest, Mr. Coach Joseph Gross of Westland Hialeah Senior High School. Keep kicking butt, sir. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening, and God bless.
Much appreciated, man. Thank you.
You got it, my friend. See you soon.